report. It's 9 a.m. on the 31st of May, so we're going to go ahead and begin. We're going to start with roll call. Commissioner Gallagher. Here. Commissioner Rosales. Here. Judge Shaw's here. Commissioner Schindel. Here. Commissioner Hummel. Here. Carol Sweezy with the County Clerk's Office. Here. Please stand and join us in the prayer as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance today and you make decisions for the county. We thank you for all your blessings. Thank you for our troops that defend our country. Thank you for the rain received. I ask you to continue to send us more rains this summer so we don't have another dry fire hazard. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we go on to citizens to be heard, we have one of our paramedics here this morning. I'd like to go ahead and move him, so can we please skip to number 9? Does anybody have anything to say about radios before I go there? It's number 9 is discuss, approve, disapprove purchase of a dual control head mobile P25 radio for new ambulance application, and that's Johnny Smart.
Okay. What I'm requesting is a new radio for the new ambulance we have ordered. Now, the delivery date of the new unit is the end of June and 1st of July. It's in production right now. We're caught in a dilemma because the first of the year, everything has to be what's called narrow banded. It will make it to where any unit in the United States, any first response unit in the United States can contact any other unit in the United States. It's a complicated, long bill that right now it's just mainly costing us a lot of money. Normally the radios we use in the ambulance run under $1,000. This is a radio that is both analog and digital, and it will meet all the new federal communication standards as of January 1st, 2013. It will work with all the stuff that the sheriff has to implement come the 1st. Now, this is a dual head radio, and all that means is that you can work the radio from the front of the ambulance and the back of the ambulance, which gives us the ability to talk to the helicopters to give reports and also talk to police or anybody else from the rear of the ambulance, because we spend a large amount of time in the back rather than the front. Well, Motorola builds a radio for this. I've talked to, or tried to talk to multiple companies, and nobody actually makes a radio like this except Motorola. The other companies can build one, but they don't guarantee that it's going to work like it's supposed to. You know, they can build it, but they can't guarantee it. So it comes down, we're pretty much stuck with Motorola. As far as going out for bids, Industrial Communications in San Antonio basically covers all of South Texas, everything from Austin south. So going out for bids wouldn't change the price any. And all I need is permission to go ahead and get the radio ordered so that when the new unit comes in, it can be installed. Any questions?
Johnny, do you have that in your budget? How long is it budgeted?
I'm not sure.
It's not a specific line item budget, but I'm sure there's enough flex in his total department.
Yeah. My budget is fairly flexible. It has to be because mostly medications, the prices of that, and well, you're seeing the price of fuel. I mean, all of you probably right now are wondering how Luana figures out how to budget fuel costs. But it comes down to, well, I mean.
You didn't see what I did. I pulled it out of the sky.
Well, I wonder how she does it, okay? I've had numerous Motorola's and I've had other brands of radios. Motorola equipment tends to go in service and stay in service till the unit wears out and we find you just can't get parts for them anymore. They just don't give trouble. Any other questions?
Yeah, how do you know this won't be obsolete in a year from now? I just went to an ACOG meeting. They said radio communication is going to change. They are applying for a grant from, I'll say State Farm Insurance. I don't know if that's right, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $16 million for new radio towers here to get in this new communication system. I don't know how much is included for radios, for equipment, but there's something in that.
Yeah. This.
So you're going to get ahead of them and get everything in place 6 months before they ever have it. Is that right?
Well, we're going to get partially ahead of them. Okay, there's no way to get ahead of the curve here. We don't know what's going to be happening after the first of the year. This radio, by being analog, which we're on analog right now, and you have to be digital come the first of the year. The only thing we're changing right now is this one radio. This equipment is all very expensive. Walkie-talkies that I can get for $200 after the first of the year, they're going to probably run more like $1,000, $1,500. So we're getting one radio so that we will be in compliance per se. It's supposed to be able to meet the guidelines. That's according to Motorola, their specialist. And it's supposed to be able to be functional. Right now, we're looking at ambulances, the rate we're using them, and the abuse to the vehicles. I mean, any emergency vehicle is hard road to put up with. We're looking at probably getting 6 to 9 years out of an ambulance unit at most. And within that period of time, this radio should carry us through it. It should. And it does have the capability of being modified if anything comes along. It's a 500 channel radio. And that's a whole lot more channels. We need about 20 to 25 in there. But as far as I understand, as far as I've been told, now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't understand all the stuff about the narrow banding. I don't understand. It's a very large piece of legislation, and I don't understand the whole thing. Emergency management, sheriff's department, they've had to deal with it a whole lot more than I have, okay? But Motorola is one of the key players in it, and they tell me that this radio will be good for the life of this unit. And that's the only thing I can go on, okay? I wish I could tell you more about it as far as the technical end of it, but I can only go by the fact they tell me that this will do the job, okay? As far as it's kind of like a computer, Pete. As soon as you buy the thing or a cell phone, it's obsolete. You know, everything is changing in the communications end, and I don't know where it's all going to end up.
Well, the only thing I'm asking is, do we have to have this radio now? And like you just said, when you buy it, then in 2 months it might be obsolete. How much do you know about it that we have to have this radio now before this other stuff comes into play?
Well, everything says that this radio will be compliant come January 1st, okay? And that it will remain compliant with the legislation that was passed that is putting everybody into this situation where they're narrow banding, okay?
I understand sales.
That's all I can tell you is that they assure me that it is compliant and it will do the job. I don't know where all of this is going to, okay?
Yeah, we've been doing this since Operation Border Star, which I've been in since 2006. This has been coming down the pike that we're on analog/digital. Pretty much all the counties around here are going to digital, but they're bigger counties because it's $1 million payday. That's what it is. We're getting by with these for the simple reason, by 2013 we've got to go to the PF25 radio. Everybody's mandatory because they're going to go in there and tweak it. That we won't be on analog, we'll be more on digital. Well, this is what he's asking to get this radio, so they won't be on analog, they're going to be on this PF25, which is 2013 is supposed to be compliant with the federal government.
January 1st.
January 1st. So this has been in place for about 4 or 5 years.
This will keep us in communications with the sheriff's department for this unit for sure. Okay? The real expense comes in when you start having to dual head these things and that kind of stuff. The radios, even if I was going just one radio to go in the very front of the ambulance, it would still be probably in the $3,000 range. Okay? That's the best I can tell you about it. From the EMS end, we haven't gotten a lot of information about the narrow banding and all that because it all goes through the dispatch. It all goes through the sheriff's department. And they're the ones that are having to update the equipment. Now, like our walkie-talkies and all this kind of stuff in our pagers, We're going to keep them right now on analog because probably countywide, we're probably looking at 150 to 200 pagers. These things are $500 a piece, okay? So you can imagine what kind of cost you're looking at when this stuff has to all be changed over. So we're hoping to try to avoid that if possible for as long as possible. Okay, does that help any? I know it's pretty vague.
All right, from what they told us, ACOG, there's a plan for 14 radio towers in the area.
Yeah.
That's not gonna get done by January 1st.
No. In Karnes County, we have 3 repeater towers. One was down, is it back up?
They're all on the water towers.
We've got 3 repeaters we've added in Karnes County to comply with all this and everything. So when January 1st comes around, people with scanners may notice the difference. I don't know whether they'll be able to hear the primary frequencies or not. Some people have told me they will. Some people have told me it's going to be garbled. Some people have told me they're going to hear strange things. So it ought to be interesting, at the very least. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know a whole lot about the narrow banding and everything. I haven't found anybody that can tell me a whole lot about it. Everybody seems to know that they can't explain it. Carl.
So we have 3 different bands. We have analog, we have narrow band, and we have digital.
No. Right now we are talking on which is analog, okay? We're switching over to digital. The band we talk on right now is a VHF, very high frequency. The band, like you get up around San Antonio and areas like that, they're already digital, they're on UHF systems. We're on a VHF system. The main reason is you get more range out of the VH system typically than the UHF system. When you have a UHF system, you have to go to more repeater towers. Now, down the road somewhere, that's what they're going to force us into probably, is going to a UHF system. But that's not on the table yet. And, you know, it's one of those things the federal government requires this stuff, but they don't always send money down the pipes to feed it.
What's the advantage of this digital system?
It's clear, and it opens up more frequencies. By narrow banding, they control the frequency of the band digitally so that you have a tighter width. Right now, the band where we're talking, whatever frequency we were on, is a little bit wider. You get interference. Digital makes it to where it brings it down to where you get a more precise coverage and a smaller, let's say, slot in the frequencies, okay? So that means you go in there and put more frequencies in. You can stack more frequencies into the system so that you can do more things with it. One of the problems that we have, and it's not just in Karnes County, it's all over, is communications. If you ever listen to, I don't know if y'all listen to scanners or not, if you ever listen to one of the major wrecks we have, there's a lot of radio talk going on. Now we're trying to get as much as we can off of the primary frequency that we talk on. But communications are always a problem spot, and what we're doing is adding more frequencies to get everybody onto other alternative frequencies, rather than tying up the primary frequencies that all the police talk on, like when the ambulances go in service, when the fire departments go in service, all this. We're trying to get that down to where it's only essential traffic on it rather than all the mundane, all the normal little stuff. Like at the wreck scenes now, we talk primarily on walkie-talkies between everybody. Does that help any? I know, I'm talking real vague here, guys. I wish.
You need the radio.
We need the radio.
For the ambulance.
We need to get the radio, and we got to get it ordered now, and it will meet all the specs and the requirements in January. That's the best I can tell you. Whether it meets them in January of 2014, I suspect it will, but only God knows, and he's not talking right now.
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of a dual control head mobile P25 radio for the new ambulance application. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? No opposition. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay,
Thanks,
while I'm
Johnny.
here, anybody have any questions on anything EMS?
Lonnie, you need this bid sheet?
Do you know where I live?
Yeah. I've got one here. Go on.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Be careful.
And I'm headed to your office. Okay. Thank you now. Appreciate it.
Johnny, be careful. Fact number 5, citizens to be heard.
I have one. Maggie Hunt. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm representing Karnes County Historical Commission, and our agents in the state and federal levels have full faith that our county leadership will make an appropriate decision today regarding the architectural firm we have continuously contracted with since 2000 and restoration of the historical courthouse, which is Fisher and Head. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 6 is discuss, approve, disapprove an ACOG reimbursement check paid to Karnes County 911 dated 4/11/2012 in the amount of $7,001.95. Says I'm asking Commissioners Court to please consider special 911 project coordinators to have the $7,001.95 reimbursement money allocated to Karnes County as an amendment to be used this fiscal year 2012 for equipment and supplies. Not all MAMFR funding was expended within the region in that sheet.
Good morning. Just as I stated, we received extra funds that the other counties did not submit money for throughout the 2010-2011 fiscal year. So they didn't have their Manfords set in. We had sent in our Manfords monthly for 2010-2011 as requested, and our monies that we spent in our department did go over. That is extra money that they dealt out to the different counties that submitted their Manfords on time. So now I'm asking that we can actually use it this year.
Luana, what's the budget with that? I mean, did you receive money back we have to budget with, or does this automatically go to her department? I mean, did we get something?
We received the funds back. Technically, I would have to certify that those additional funds have come in, which would need to be an agenda item, and then the court would have to allocate that can go to that use. So I guess for the next agenda, we'll need to put those two items on there.
Okay. So then this wouldn't be an action item today, it'd be when we move forward.
We're just asking for that. We did submit it to the treasurer's office, I believe it was in April, with all the documentation, and that's what y'all stated, that I needed to bring it to Commissioner's Court this way. So if y'all could put it on the next agenda, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
So, yeah, to go to no action. Thanks, Luana. All right, number 7 is discuss, approve, disapprove ACOG Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan update and allow the county judge to execute if approved. Shelby brought us this. It's in your package. It's exactly what it is. It's just a resolution updating the Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. And every county does it. It's just done with ACOG, the Alamo Area Council of Governments. This is our plan.
I make a motion to approve the ACOG Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan update and allow the county judge to execute.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No opposition. Motion carries 5-0. Number 8 on the agenda is to discuss, approve, disapprove hiring of an architectural firm to evaluate the structural and foundational condition of the courthouse and recommend the next step, restoration or reclamation, which should be followed. Pete?
Okay, as in charge of buildings, TAC assigned me to inspect the courthouse for water damage and give a report once a month. So in doing this, I went through with Lorraine Daly and we looked at it, talked about what should be done with it. We know that it has cracks in it and the roof leaks and whatever, and so we'll get the price on that, aside from this. But in discussion, it said, well, we shouldn't let this just sit here for a year and a half till we see if we get a grant, to try to apply for a grant again. So what should be done with it? So it says, well, we ought to get an evaluation of it, see what it is. So get someone independent of Fisher and Heck to make an evaluation of it. So Lorraine Daly gave me some names. She recommended Graham Lund, who's done quite a bit of restoration work, and then I had another list of projects, and I called a few people. I came up with PGAL out of Houston, David Andrews. Talked to those two gentlemen and had each of them come down here with the structural engineer and look at the courthouse with me, and went through it, told them the history of it, and asked them to each give us some evaluation of it or some idea of what they might do to do this for us, and as I said, to recommend a restoration or reclamation which should be followed. So I will now turn it over to them to give us a presentation, and since David Andrews in the front row, we'll let him go first.
Thank you. This is a little handout information about who we are and what we've done. You need a copy of this record. Just a little bit. PGAL, we're a 66-year-old architectural firm. We're based out of in Houston. I hadn't been there that entire time, but I've been there about 28 years, so I'm the oldest living architect we have. But with me today is Ruben Martinez, who's one of our architects with PGAL, and Larry Isaac with Architects, who's earlier historical preservation architect consultant that we've worked with before. Larry, tell a little bit about Architects.
Yeah. Once again, Larry Isaac with Architects. We were founded in 1978. I've been with the firm since '85, principal with the firm, so I've been doing this like 26 years. We specialize in historic preservation, so I've worked on hundreds of historic buildings, and we have restored 14 historic courthouses throughout the state of Texas. And 3 of those are ones where counties actually had construction documents 95% complete, and for whatever reason, weren't really happy with where they were going and wanted to go in a different direction. There were THC-funded projects under the courthouse program, and they hired us to go ahead and become the new architect to complete those projects. And one of them is actually getting completed this month, and it began with them, just having a difference of opinions on things with their firm, and asked us to do a peer review, and come out, take a look at the drawings and the building, and give some opinions, and kind of went from there, and we ended up getting hired. So we have a lot of historic preservation experience throughout the state.
Very good. And I've asked Ruben to kind of talk to you just briefly about the 1910 courthouse in Harris County that we just recently renovated with Larry, and just to show some background of our experience.
The boards that we have in front of you, just to kind of highlight one of our feature projects in our office, and one that a significant historic preservation project that we collaborated with Architects on. I spent 6 years of my life basically on a day-to-day operation basis looking at everything in and out of this building, and Larry was there side by side with me. This is a courthouse. There's some similarities that has some similarities to y'all's courthouse, but this courthouse in 1950 had its first major alteration, which was the introduction of air conditioning. When they introduced the air conditioning, they modernized the building and destroyed a lot of the historic features. So Larry and I, we came in 2005. We went in, we managed the project, we oversaw all the design effort, worked closely with the THC, and worked very closely with the end users. And what we have in front of you are kind of what we began with and what we ended up with. I don't know, you can kind of see, this is what we started with, and this is what we ended with in terms of a finished product. Some of the main features are the rotunda, where we had this original skylight that was actually removed in the 50s, and we went back and replaced it. So this just kind of shows you some of our expertise, and also how we work very well with Architects.
Great, thank you, Ruben. And we have met Mr. Yauer on the site, walked through the building with him. You can see where you are there. So the next step we would see would be to do a more like Larry said, a peer review of what's been done already and what's proposed to, and in your master plan to how to move forward, just as another set of eyes to review that. And we would look at it both from an architectural, from an historical, and we'd have a structural engineer on board to review that with us as well. And then depending on what came out of that, if we wanted to go into a little more in-depth evaluation, if we find some issues that need to be looked at, then we do a more in-depth evaluation. It would take a little longer to look at that. So it's kind of a two-step thing. The initial one where we see, we're looking at fee ranges from $5,000 to $7,000 to do that initial one, and maybe
How much?
5 to 7. And
I don't think it's plugged in, Ms. Stinson, so I don't think that's gonna get you very
Yeah.
far. But
And then the next one really depends on what comes out of that first one. Could be anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 to do that second study, which would be much more in depth for us. So, you have any questions for us?
Okay, what will the initial evaluation tell us? What are you going to do in the initial evaluation?
It'll be a peer review of what's been done already, so we'll see where they are in the process of the historical preservation, what they're proposing in their master plan for the different phases. You have phase 1 that started already, and we'll see where we are and how that's going to be maintained, if you will, until the next round of available grant money is there. That would be the main thing. Look at what's planned for the building, make sure it doesn't deteriorate even more over that period of time. At the same time, we'll have a structural engineer review what's been proposed for the foundation repair, and just compare that with some of their precedences that have been set.
And I think I also heard that you wanted an evaluation of your budget too, to make sure that the scope and the budget are in line, so you knew what the overall project costs were. So it would be an evaluation of your existing budget too, if that's what you would like done.
Where are these funds coming from? Are they going to come out of the THC funds or contingency?
Did we discuss we're selling some of the bonds for the courthouse that have been passed, and we're hoping to sell enough amount to cover emergency repairs of the roof and of the cracks in the walls, and some money for this should come out of that bond money for the courthouse. Is that correct, Barbara?
We've already given Mr. Henderson to go ahead and sell those bonds. I believe it was $3 million for the roads and $350,000. What did we say, Luana? Do you remember what I said?
I don't
I have to
remember
look
if
at
it
my
was
email.
350 or if it was 250.
I believe 350,000 is right, and we're gonna need, some for repairs, some will come out for initial bond fees. And so I don't know exactly what we'll have, but we should have money in that to pay for this.
Do we currently have a structural foundation plan and plan for the roof?
Do we currently have plans for it?
Right, I mean, has it been already evaluated and now we're just reevaluating what's already been evaluated? All right, could you just kind of explain this, walk me through this?
Okay, as far as what Fisher and Heck has in the up to date, okay, as far as we have up to date, I don't know what plan they have for it. What I see on the plans is that they have to take the floor out of the building and then consult. And, I don't know exactly what 90% complete plans means, but the notes that I saw on the plan said cut the floor out and take the dirt out and then consult with the structural engineer and proceed from there. So that's what the plan is. They have some plans on there to put some foundation, improve the foundation under the support that's there now. But there is something that's unknown in that part of it, because it definitely says consult with the structural engineer when the dirt is removed and see which way to go from there. All right, as far as we know that we have a water table here, and we don't know exactly what that is. I don't know what it is. I've read some reports on it, but I can't tell you exactly what they all say. In their initial report, they will try to look at that and see what that says and see if they need to take something there, if they feel that that's good enough. Because that probably has been done approximately 10 years ago, 8 years ago at least. And I can't tell you exactly what is in the plan. I haven't studied that much detail. I'm just telling you what I've seen on the plans that I've looked at. But Mr. Fisher has told us several times they're 90% complete. What exactly 90% complete means, I don't know. But I feel like it's worthwhile to get another opinion and see where to go since we don't have any plans. I had a meeting April 13th in 2011 with Sharon Fisher, Mark Cowan, and Lawrence Calavetti, and Louis Fisher in San Antonio. Asked them at that time, can you do something with the courthouse with this 600, with this first initial grant that we have for removal of the wing? Can you do something for the foundation of the courthouse? They said, no, we can't do that now. So we have another year and a half before there's a possibility of doing anything with it. So I'd like another evaluation at this time to see if we get some recommendation on what to do with the foundation. You can't just let it sit there, you know it's cracked.
I mean, just reading this, just a little confused, so I was just wanting some clarification on it. It says hiring of an architectural firm to evaluate the structural foundation condition of the courthouse and recommend the next step, restoration or reclamation, that should be followed. Now, what's the difference between restoration and reclamation?
I suppose restoration would be to follow whatever plan Louis Fisher has. Reclamation is do something different to preserve it at this time.
Seems like you said that you really didn't know if there were any plans for the foundation currently or the roof, but yet we're hiring another firm to come there and evaluate a plan that you don't even know if it exists.
Well, as you have told me before, Carl, I'm not an architect and I'm not an engineer, and that's why I want to hire someone that is to evaluate that.
I was just wanting some clarification. I'm sure everybody else does too. Anytime we spend money, I mean, we're going to build a jail, and do you hire?
That's the next item.
Yeah, you hire somebody to evaluate the architect that you already have and those plans, and then.
I'm not sure, because we haven't seen the documents yet, but being familiar with the process that the Texas Historical Commission goes under, I know you guys have a master plan that's a very thick document that is an analysis of the entire building, a program, and an initial budget so that you can apply for a grant, which you've already gotten to in the past. And the follow-up to that, I'm not positive, I'm pretty sure you have 90–95% complete construction documents right now, and that's a requirement. I think you received a grant for those documents. I'm not positive, but there's a certain level of completion that those documents have to get to for the THC to get you an additional 10 points under the program. And those documents are pretty complete architectural drawings for construction, and they also include mechanical, electrical, plumbing, civil, and structural, along with specifications. And the 5% is kind of like the final bit that needs to be done just to refine it at the very end to complete the documents prior to bidding. So it's just a certain level of completion that THC requires before you can get the extra 10 points. So I'm not positive, but I suspect you actually have fairly complete construction documents at this point.
Is that right, Pete? We have a pretty complete set of construction documents.
The date on them is 2007. I suppose they're. Mr. Fisher told us they're 90%. That's certain.
Have you seen them?
Yeah, I've seen some.
All the whole shebang, or?
Yes, I got a set of them last year before the bond election. I got a set.
Are we going to do this, or are you wanting to do this after phase 1 is complete, or during the phase 1, or what's the timeline on this?
I want to get an evaluation soon.
Can I ask you a question, Pete? I think the concern is, I mean, we're gonna restore the courthouse at a cost of $10 million, right? And that's what we're doing. I mean, we're just making sure that what we put it on, we're spending our $10 million wisely. Is that,
Yes, we want
we'll make sure we don't have a shaky part.
We want to
Just in case y'all try to put me back on the third floor.
We want an evaluation of what needs to be done. Second opinion, in other words. Spend $20,000 on a $10 million project, I don't think is a large expense for a $10 million project for second opinion.
As far as I know, we only have one grant, and that is for phase one. You're kind of jumping ahead here, but I have to question your motives for the reason that you were never for the courthouse restoration. And now, you know, you're kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now you're hiring another firm, making it look like you're for this restoration, when in fact I think you're just looking for a way to kill the project. Say, well, it's not restorable now. This firm said you can't
Carl,
restore
I've
it.
always said we can't tear this courthouse down. It's got 3
But if you
historical
could, you would.
designations. It's got 3 historical designations. We can't tear it down. We can't win in federal court. It'd be
No, but
wasted
if
effort.
you could, you would. You had told me
But Carl,
that.
that's not the answer. I mean, we're gonna restore it. It went to the voters. It's gonna be restored. It
Right,
doesn't
I'm
matter
just-
what anybody thinks, but we're
Carl, I'm not
gonna,
gonna
you
argue
spend
with you.
$10 million.
Personal
But these
opinions
questions
don't
said-
matter here.
Ask these men questions if
Constituents
you
have
any
already
questions.
voted.
I mean, it's gonna be restored, regardless of what how anybody feels personally, or any, the courthouse is gonna be restored. That's the end of the story. That's gonna happen.
Okay, let's move on to the next project.
But I guess the
Got
question.
somebody else?
Jane, do you have any questions for these men?
Now, y'all said it would be between 5,000 and 7,000, and he asked me what extent of information would y'all give us, the court, and give the public. That would evaluate the foundation. I know it's already been evaluated, and it's been said by the other architects that, excuse me, I'm losing my voice right now.
Yeah,
But,
probably losing
but that it is restorable, and like the judge said, the public spoke, it's gonna get restored one way or another. But, I mean, I would like, that's kind of great to get another opinion on it, but I know these other guys are architects, and they said it can be restored, so I'm sure it can be restored.
Sure.
But between those 5 and 7, because it's a lot of jump between 5 and 7, and then up to 20 or 40. And I know you said 20 or 40 is gonna be very thorough, right? Very thorough, meaning, what's 5? I know you said 5 and 7, but is that gonna give us an answer of what we're looking for, or are you gonna come with a medium answer, and then we're still gonna have to pay 20 to
I
40?
think step 2 depends on what we find out in step 1. You know, we may come out in step 1 and say, what you have in place is exactly what
It's
you need to be
good.
doing, and everything's fine, and in that case, when we go away, we don't go to step 2.
I see what you mean.
But step 2 would be if we find things in step 1 that need to be evaluated closer and come up with more recommendations, and have to get more people involved as to how that would work. And that's what comes out of that. The phase 1 is what we call a peer review, which happens all the time in our industry. You get people hire architects to do things. Somewhere along the way they lose confidence or whatever, they hire somebody else to review what's going on. And either come out of that with, you know, what they're doing is perfectly within the norm and what you should be doing, or you need to back up and look at another
So you've
way
been
to-
through a peer review yourself, huh?
Absolutely. Came out successful and continue on the projects. But that, in federal projects, they have built-in peer reviews, and people just come in and review your work. It's part of the process.
Right. I'm not, just being honest, I'm not looking to change architecture or anything, but I would like y'all to, you know, maybe take a look at it for the 5,000 and 7,000, see what we got. Can I ask you something? Has anybody ever went and checked on y'all's, like, if y'all been working on a project, has anybody ever hired another firm to come over and reevaluate y'all's project?
And it's not only historical, but like I said, we do a lot of federal work too, and part of that peer review process is part of the federal process. They contract. You know it's going to happen. Somebody's going to come in and look at what you're doing.
I've not had it, but I guess I've done it for others, you know, so, but I personally have not had anybody evaluate our documents before. But it depends on what it's for, you know?
Right.
I mean, mean, I think it's about providing a service for what you need. I mean, if it's truly needing another opinion, whether it's structural, architectural, or to confirm cost. Sometimes we're doing a peer review just for financial, for a bank to make sure they get tax credits on a historic preservation project. So there's a lot of different reasons why you do it. I mean, I'd have to say that, you know, the 3 projects we did take over from other firms in the past, part of it was about the work, but I have to say more it was about a breakdown in relationships. You know, so there's 2 different things, but they both can have a bearing on ultimately a decision that is made, you know, what to do.
Kind of like changing wives or something?
Kind of.
I've never done that, so I don't know. Anything else?
I will say that when we walked around the courthouse, that Mr. Martinez did ask quite a few questions about that I thought were pertinent questions about the condition and the history and so forth. So, as the other firm did too, but he did ask a lot of questions that I thought were legitimate questions, good questions, things that need to be done.
Thank you for your consideration here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, what does PGAL stand for?
Pierce, Goodwin, Alexander, Glenville, original partners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was that another architect firm out there?
Jeffrey, did you see those others out there?
Commissioners, Judge, just briefly, I was just gonna talk briefly about what Commissioner Gower said is, the main concern is, you know, you have spent, when this project's finished, it will be just under $1 million restoring this west facade. And you have cracks in all of the exterior walls. And if it's 2 years before you get more money, is it prudent to look at doing something with the foundation? And if you're going to do that, having a second opinion on what needs to be done might build some confidence in being able to make the very best decision for the building. We all know that you don't have $30 million to spend on restoring this courthouse, but if it's going to be within the budgets of what you've been told, then my understanding is, you know, everybody's behind getting this courthouse restored. So the main thing here is to have some experts come and that this is what they do and help you make your, you know, the very best decision. So that's kind of what this is about. It's not about really fish or heck or anything else. It's about getting you the information you need to make the most informed decision.
I understand your part. It's a second opinion. I'm not saying I want to change architects or anything, or I'm not even looking at it that way. It's the same way. I'm going to put it for an example. I don't maybe, you know, I'm not against it. We, of course, you don't want to put on the store. That's fine. You know, people spoke and all. But it's like when you go to the doctor, they say you have a certain disease. I always go to another doctor to get a second evaluation. Actually, I'm doing that right now.
Okay.
So I understand that it's not that you're going to choose. You know what I mean? Even if you got your own doctor, I have my own doctor, Dr. Mitchell, but if he tells me something, I told him, well, send me over here. I want another opinion. I thought, I'm going to leave Dr. Mitchell. I just would like another opinion.
Yes, sir. So that's why I kind of wanted to, you know, that's not what it's not about. It's about getting you the information you need so you can make the best decision for Karnes County. And as Commissioner Gower said, Morgan has known Mr. Luke for 40-something years, my partner. And when he asked me about it, I told him I would talk to Morgan. And
Morgan had told me you need to call Graham Loom because Graham has his entire career worked in this historical preservation architecture. So that's where they came from. So I'll sit down and let them give you the presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge Shaw and Commissioners. I'm Graham Loon from Houston. A little bit about our situation. I grew up in San Antonio, went to the University of Texas in Austin, so I'm getting a little background. After working for 3 firms in 1970, opened my own practice in Houston 43 years ago, in May, actually, 1970. A major part of my practice in 43 years has been working with historic buildings, mainly National Register properties, either getting them listed and then working on those projects, registered Texas historic landmark buildings around the state, and working closely because of various requirements, because of those listings, working with the Texas Historical Commission for those 43 years at different levels. Simultaneously with my practice, I did serve on the State Board of Review for National Register for 9 years and was chairman of that, and then worked with them on the Preservation Trust Fund Committee. And for the past 10 years have been involved with Antiquities Advisory Board and also sit in with the Architecture Committee. So not only my practice doing that and working with the commission and knowing the folks. We've had our battles on a lot of projects working with them. But we have been involved, like I said, with several courthouse projects over the years. One in particular right now, about 2 months ago, we did a master plan 12 years ago for Burleson County Courthouse in Caldwell. And so we got a call from the new county judge about December, I guess it was, to come up in January, and they were having a foundation problem. Nothing had been done. They did the master plan, and then they didn't do anything for 12 years. But they've had some cracks and several foundation structural issues with their courthouse. And so we were called up with our structural engineer, matrix structural engineers, Chip Hurley, he'll speak to you in a minute. And we are almost went up, and then we evaluated what had to be done. And I'll let Chip tell you more about it. And we're currently involved with them to solve their structural issues with their foundation. And we've done this on many, many courthouses, jails, other private historic buildings during the 43 years. What I'd like to do is just introduce Chip Hurd and let him tell you kind of our own structural engineering. We did come up and meet with Commissioner Jower, tour the building. We did a cursory review of some of the drawings, materials that had been prepared previously, and need to do a more thorough review and make firm recommendations. We do know that time is of the essence. We are prepared to, if agreeable, whenever y'all make a decision one way or the other, to come down next week and begin the real thorough investigation of the foundation. And so what I'll do is turn it over to Chip, and then we'd like to respond to questions that you all have that we maybe can answer of how we expedite this during the month of June to get perhaps emergency funding from the commission for any foundation issues that need to be addressed. We have done that on a couple of projects, emergency, even though they didn't get funding for their project, they did get emergency. At Tyler County, we had they had a fire, and we've done the master plan, but we applied for emergency funding for Tyler County for their electrical, total redo of their electrical system because they had had a fire. As you know, several courthouses over the years, especially the age of years, add electrical and IT requirements and other things, and tax the building that wasn't designed for that. And so you have to do pretty thorough, revamp all the electrical system to prevent the fires from happening. In your case, there are several courthouses similar that have structural problems. There have been several that have been restored under the grant program. that still have foundation problems that weren't addressed in the beginning. And that's the first step. And like you mentioned, Commissioner, using a medical analogy, you need second opinions or maybe third opinions before you make a major investment in a project. And of course, you start with foundation is the whole guts of a building to support whatever's up above. And yours is deteriorated, and that needs to be investigated to find out why. Why is it still doing it? And we're prepared to do that immediately. We're hands-on. We're a small firm. We have a consultant structural engineer we worked with for 40 years, and we prepared to hit the deck running, take off our time, get out with and crawl around and do what's necessary to help your building come back to life. It's an important building for your community, for your citizens, generations, and it's an important part for the future of your county. Chip, you want to talk about structural issues?
Thanks, Graham. I'm Chip Hurley from Matrix Structural Engineers in Houston. And we work with Graham on a lot of projects. We do a lot of historical preservation, and we do a lot more forensics, because I hate to say this in front of one of our clients, but really for me as an engineer, it's forensics. It's fixing stuff. It's not historical. I'm glad it's historic, but you know, we just got to fix the problem. We got to deal with the gravity, the strength of soil, and the damage done by water. So we just go after it and do that. I've been down with Graham. We toured the building. There are drawings around. I reviewed the drawings, looked at the existing drawings. I have a few little concerns there. But what we like, you know, I sort of thought about this and a plan of action of what we'd like to do to attack this problem. And there's a couple things we need to do. Like Graham was mentioning in Burleson County, next week in Burleson County, we're exposing the sides of the foundation, and we'll be up there, I'll be up there with a zip level doing the floor survey to find out what we've really got. And they're going to expose the foundation. Y'all's foundation's already been exposed. I've got the report. So we know what it is. We know it's concrete with stone corbelled on top of, or masonry corbelled on top of it. But what we did in Burleson is we got some borings, more soil borings, and we got some under the building so we could see what was really there. Because sometimes when they build these buildings, they'll put in expansive fill. So if you go, 30 feet outside the building and you do a boring, you get one thing. Then you go inside the building and you find out they've brought in a bunch of low quality garbage, not literally garbage, but poor quality fill, and pile that into the building. And so sometimes you'll discover the problem in there. So we try to get a couple borings, or at least this is a small courthouse, maybe one boring to 10 feet inside the building to see what kind of fill, what's really there. And then we get a couple borings around. This just had one boring. I noticed, I keep hearing stories about the river and the water table and stuff, and talking around town. There's a hardware store with fish in the basement, catfish. I can't tell you how disconcerting that is to a structural engineer. It's just, and we're at a high elevation. I'm standing in a courthouse looking around, and everything's downhill from here.
Water flows uphill in this building.
Apparently it violates the first rule of civil engineering. It just flows uphill. But we'll want to get a couple more borings. One of them should be fairly deep, so we can establish, so we know, we can look into the future and see what might happen with this water table going up and down. I will tell you this: the soil that's in the soils report, the one boring, was not too bad. The plasticity indices were 30, and anything below 20 is considered pretty good. I will say, in looking around the building, the cracking is a lot worse than the movement. This is, and I guess you guys have all heard, you've got masonry, real wheat masonry, low quality brick and stuff. But it's really cracked a whole lot for the amount of movement. So the first thing I would do, in fact, I'm going over to, y'all know where Poth is, right? I thought it was pot, but I stand corrected by some guys from Yoakum. I hope they're right. So what I'm going over there today, and we're going to do a floor survey, just hands-on, you know, I'm the guy. We're a 21-man firm, but when we do the forensic stuff, I'm the lead guy in. And so I don't look at pictures. I go see it, go look at it, go do it. I'll bring some guys with me. But we'll survey the floor and find out just how out of level you really are. We'll get a soil report, a couple more borings, and see what we're really dealing with here, and find out what the water table is. And then we'll come in and we'll fix the foundation, or assuming it needs to be fixed. I mean, with all these cracks, it sure looks like. I know I think you have water infiltration problems that are really exacerbating the problem. But you really need to know where you are, how out of level you are. We do this all the time. In fact, we did one building. It was brand new, and it was 1 3/4 inches out of level. And they built it that way. They're having arguments. We did a quick survey one day, and it's 1 3/4 inch out of level. So now, in the future, when everybody starts screaming it's out of level, the foundation's failing, we can tell them no, it's not. It's always been that way. The contractor was bad. And but anyway, we'd like to see exactly where you stand, make a really accurate assessment. I've looked at the drawings. We know what the foundation is. It's a very accurate sketch, and with lots of notations. And then we'll make an assessment and see where we go from here. We've done a lot of buildings, and there's a couple of ways to go. If we need to level it, I'm not saying we need to level it, but if we need to level it, we need to strengthen it. We do a lot of this for institutional clients like universities, and we can look at press piles underneath it and lifting it the lower levels. We'll look at the soil strength. The soil strength, by the way, look good. It looks like you ought to have 9,000 pounds a square foot. Ultimate before, so the safety factor. Anyway, and then we'll look at, we just finished a high school it was built about 1950 for HISD, Lee High School, and they don't have money in their bond issue right now. They couldn't build a new high school. They needed to salvage the building, make it safe. It was moving down so fast. We stabilized the building. We only lifted it up. The big 3-story concrete wings, we lifted up 3 inches. But the little library that they're gonna say, the building's only like 20 years old. We lifted that thing up 9 inches using soil strengthening, grout injection, below the piers.
You said you raised a 3-story building 3 inches?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Just want to make sure that's what you said.
Yeah, that's what I said. We could have raised it the rest of the way, but it had gone down so much, and they do intend to replace the building. It doesn't need to last 10 years. It just needs to last 5-6 years. But they didn't want to spend the money to raise it. If it was historic, we could have raised it. But, everybody's got a budget, and this wasn't a historic building. It was a bad building, built in 1951 or 61. Anyway, so our scope of work runs a gamut from just fixing stuff for school districts to restoring stuff. We're doing a project for Houston Community College. Our old main building used to be Sam Jack High School in HISD, and they've got a $35 million budget. So if you guys want to do $35 million, we can do that. But we get one of those every 5 years. That's not our bread and butter. We couldn't survive doing that. What we do is go around and fix high school auditorium, evaluate the bread and butter. And this is sort of what we do. Y'all have any
what we'd like to
questions?
do is just see, this is just a brief summary. I don't know what the handouts that you all have had, and but this is just a summary on the back of some of the projects that have had historic preservation projects. But what we'd like to do is respond to any questions that you all have. We have, in evaluating the work that's going on now, we think the foundation study should have been done before any work on that side, because there is a problem with the new work if there's more settlement, we think, that might occur. So that's water under the bridge, so we have to see where you are now and evaluate that. And one of the other issues on the phase 2 portion, the foundations that are proposed are good foundations, but they're just doing support of the slab, the slabs that are there down the floor slab, and don't really address the perimeter corbel footings that are 4 or 5 feet around the perimeter. And your exterior walls are the ones that are having problems. So that study initially, hopefully soon in June, can be done to determine what the perimeter walls, what's happening and why, and come up with a remedy to adjust that, apply for emergency funding to address those costs. I mean, that's what we're here to do, and like the Commissioner said, a second opinion of what's been going on in the past with other engineers and so forth. So we're capable of doing it, we've been doing it for a long time, and we'd like to work on your project, but we'd like to see if you all have any questions for us to help solidify
How
in your
much would
mind.
an initial assessment like that cost?
I think we said something that we thought would be the initial, but then for the soil borings, I think we gave an estimate of, I don't know, what, $10,000 or something.
That was the soil borings for soil.
So soil boring, then more drawings and evaluation of that for recommendations of what needs to be done beyond that. But once the soil borings, then that cost can be given to you. We can establish that to see, because it's just like an X-ray or an MRI. We don't know until we read that, for a doctor reads that. We don't know until the soil borings might be done for further issues that need to be done, and what modifications might need to be done to the existing drawings that you already have invested a tremendous amount of sum of money in.
We do a lot of peer reviews, and we sort of wade in and see if, if there's a problem. If there's not a problem, we don't try to fix it. We see some things here where it's one, we've got spread footings on the new, they're replacing the first floor slab, putting a structural slab with spread footings, that are fairly shallow. I wouldn't want to, it doesn't really take any load off the existing foundation because it was a slab on grade. But, so it's not hurting or adding any load to the original building, but it's not strengthening it, and if they're shallow, they just go to the depth of the existing footings, which I'd like something in a soils report that addresses, because we might want to drill piers, hand-augered bell piers, and get below and get into, I would hate for this new slab to start moving just like the foundation is, just like the existing is. And it might not, and I'm not predicting it will, I'm just saying, it's not clear in the soils report, I would have, my first reaction would have been to put bell pier, even though I know it's inside and you can't get drilling equipment in, you just get stuff in, hand augered, and get deeper. That's the idea, because you can't, 7 feet digging is not fun.
What we found out in the Burleson County Courthouse was that there was a previous courthouse on that site, and I understand there wasn't one on your site. But what they did is just collapse the old building and then built on top of it. And so it's rubble and debris and contaminated soil or not sufficient for structural soil that we found out in the investigation last month from the soil points. Is what had happened. So now we're addressing that and going further and taking it to get further stabilization of their building.
We found it out. We sort of verified it. Graham had a pretty good idea from talking to locals and hanging out. People there actually, there were people that had a pretty good idea.
That told us.
That told us.
Thought that. Well, you got to verify that and see what's under the ground.
Yeah. So a lot of times people know what the problem is. Yeah. Approach it that way.
When you bore into the foundation, how far apart are the bores?
We'll probably just do 2 or 3 inside. I usually pick sort of random locations just so we, well, not random, but plain so that in this building, and usually in courthouses, there's never, they don't build it over a gully. It's always on the hill.
In your case, they did it over both.
Yeah.
Apparently.
We'll just try to get, this is a pretty small footprint, and we'd like to get one, maybe 2 inside, and 1 more outside that goes really deep, because we'd like to, the ones inside are hand augered, and it's kind of slow going, but the one outside, we'd like to go maybe 40 feet and see what we get in regards to the
maybe
underground
2,
river.
1 on each side to see. Because you got construction blocking on one side, so maybe 2 in the middle on either side, north-south, and then 1 or 2 in the middle, depending on where they could be.
How deep do y'all go beyond our existing foundation, like 10 feet on the inside, 20? Like with the bore, to check
When
the
you're inside
base
the building?
material.
Inside the building, we only go about 20 feet.
You're
Sometimes we go 15.
limited because you can't get a high
Right,
boom.
including the.
Inside, but outside you can go deeper, but inside about 20 feet, is that?
Yeah, yeah, sometimes we go
For
15.
two of them, 20 feet deep, maybe 40 on the outside ones. So you get a good reading of the soil conditions under the building in there. And also what water conditions and so forth, if there is a stream, whatever.
And y'all said depending on what y'all find, depends if y'all are gonna have to analyze it more, right? So if you find that we have real poor base material, where do we go from there?
Well, it looks like the soil at the very top is low PI clay, is pretty good. But down to 4 feet, it's a little unclear, but below 4 feet, down to about 12 feet, looks like it's really good soil. I'm optimistic we'll just have poorly consolidated soil if they just start compacting and put in. But if it's really bad, we'll just, right now the new plans call for a structural slab on hand dug, or I presume they're hand dug inside the building, square footings down about 7 feet. If the soil is really bad, and that's one thing, we'll put a structural slab, but I'll probably recommend that they do hand auger belts, just pull out some doors and get a little bobcat in there. So, get a little bobcat in there and go down deeper than the existing footing that is moving. The new footings that are on the plans that I reviewed match up with the old building. And that may be appropriate. I'm just, that would be the thing we would be trying to verify. And if the existing building has moved, and it sure looks like it moved, I'm an engineer and I don't want to do visual assessments and make judgments. I want to go out there with a zip level and see. I'm pretty sure it's moved. Guys, probably.
Chip, what about going outside and drilling under the existing continuous brick footings and put shafts or whatever to stabilize?
Well, that's one of the solutions we'll be looking at.
Yeah.
We have done some buildings where we've gone in and we've gotten numbers from firms. They will come in and put in pressed piles that will go to the lower areas and literally tunnel under an area and then use pressed piles and lift and stabilize everything in the areas that are moved. We have to have these soil reports to figure out why it's moved. Is it way too much? Is the soil too weak? Is it shrinking because of trees? I didn't see any trees around the courthouse. Cause that. So we have to assess that. But then we also use the soil strengthening method that there's a couple of firms around the country that have offices in Houston that do soil strengthening. They'll do ground injection. They'll drill under and they'll high pressure ground and literally lift. That's how we lifted at Lee High School. It was an amazing process. And the low wings, we lifted 9 inches. They just got that thing level. It was so bad, and rather than tear it down, they just lifted everything up to level. Because it had to be done fast too. I don't know how you can let a building and still use it. How can you let a building settle 9 inches?
Yours is not 9 inches. No. But it is bad. It has.
So we look at it, make an assessment which way to go. But we're always budget conscious. Our biggest clients are school districts actually, and they're always on a budget. They don't care anything about historic. They just want expensive, and then it has to last because they can't sell a building. A developer can flip the building. But the school district owns it forever.
What's happened or happened to your court has happened to so many Brazoria County courthouse that we've restored 1893, I think. They came in the 20s, and that's about when you added your wing that was torn out. And then they plastered over brick. And so many of them, then it sealed those walls. And the moisture, if it was rising up, wicking up, then caused maybe more problem because it sealed that outside by plastering the building. So that's another issue that might have affected your, we think, to the condition that you have or have had for several years. Any other questions from you all?
Or Chip, if my grade shots are accurate, said it's 1 3/4 variation in the floor, would you recommend leveling this building? Or you don't know yet?
Well, we have to look at how much money you're spending on restoration and on the outside. That's kind of an inch, you know, I tell people, call me when it gets an inch and 3/4. So now we're kind of right at the.
That's not a whole
Right.
lot. For a
It depends
100-year-old
on-
build, it's not a whole lot's variation.
And it depends on what room it's in, or if it's a courtroom or something, that's not, if it's just a hallway, it may not be a problem if it's one end to the other.
Yeah, and it's just one corner that tapers off. You know, it's just 1 3/4 across 60 feet. It's not a problem, but it's just like one corner just sinks 1 3/4. You might as well fix it because it's cheap to fix. You know, before you do anything, you can just do a little area. But if you do a whole big area, it's kind of a value judgment. We like to get in and kind of see where we stand and see what. You can ascertain how long it took it to move that. If it's been 100 years, it's over 60 feet, it's got down 1 3/4. So that's not a problem. You know, you just don't worry about that. And but if it, you know, yeah, sometimes we hold hands, and sometimes I had to write a letter last night to some people. Don't go back in the building. You know, and they don't even, they have steel failing, welds failing from 1961. They were unhappy, but they didn't shore up. Well, they were planning to have a big party. They called me and said, "We're worried before they advance it. Run away, tiptoe out." But a lot, inch and 3/4 over the whole way.
To kind of summarize, we have the experience, we've worked on historic buildings, we've worked on many buildings similar to your courthouse. We know that the time is critical to get the investigation done and apply for emergency funding. The unknown is how much is in the pot for emergency funding in Austin. They don't have a lot, so if you need, hopefully, if we can justify that emergency to help solve some of the, remedy some of the problems just for the foundation fund. And then hopefully that surrounds the additional funds can be obtained to continue with the restoration
project. One other question that's regarding price-wise. I know this other company said it was 5 to 7, and they had to get into more thorough analyzing it. It's 20 to 40. So basically, not that I want to pay $40,000 to reevaluate it, but they have a cap there. Y'all are saying it's around 10,000. How high can y'all possibly get if it? Y'all keep analyzing different things. Things keep, you know, sometimes it keeps going. So y'all have a cap on it?
Well, we can.
But hopefully we can come
put a
under.
cap. Well,
We can
With
put a
10
cap,
with a 10.
You don't know until, it's just like, again, the medical analogy.
I understand,
How
right.
much are you gonna have to take out of?
Right. And I'm not saying they said that was their cap, but they at least gave us the highest
Yeah.
amount that they could go to analyze everything. What do you think?
I think that was when they said they had to dig a little deeper or something, like their
Right.
first phase review and
Right.
the second
Yes.
phase review, I think was my understanding. Like they looked at that first phase and see if there was a need for a second phase.
Right,
Or
and
what
that's
needs to
what
be
we're
done to see.
essentially saying, the same thing with the initial review of the plans and specifications, everything related to the building.
Mhm.
Get more soil borings, current inside and out, and then make recommendations and get some costing for the remedies that need to be.
You know, a lot of phase one, digging out the foundation's been done. And it doesn't look surprising, you know, it looked funny, we say, hey, we gotta do that again. But it looks so absolutely typical.
So y'all saying basically
1999.
with around 10,000, y'all should be able to, what you're saying it's gonna be around that, should be able to give us an answer of what we're looking for
After that, yes,
with that.
yeah,
That would be your first evaluation.
that's right.
To go in.
Yeah, and we would be doing
Y'all said
that
that was-
and scheduling that next
Yep.
week and the week after. It usually takes about 2.5 weeks once the soil investigation are done to get a soil report done.
And y'all said that was with boring, because the judge asked you that included boring, y'all said that's boring and everything, right?
Yeah, the longest part is once they do the boring.
Yeah, that's what you asked.
Usually you can schedule those, get on the phone tomorrow or Monday. Within a week, you do the field work. And that can be done in a day or day and a half, the field work. The report usually takes 2 weeks after the field work till you get
The technology tests take a lot of time in the testing lab.
The soil test, they take core as they go down and take different cores, and then they have to analyze that, and then they do recommendation, foundation.
Yeah, I would be, we would have to really uncover something pretty dramatic to double our fee. We have to do something else. I mean, $40,000.
Well, their first was.
I would love to tell you that's our cap. Man, that would be great. Yeah. but then my clients would all faint.
No, I know. No, they said it was the other one. Well, we're gonna bring it on public in a little bit. Anyways, you know, well, here they said it was 5 to 7 their initial one. You said it could go up to 10, or it's gonna be 10.
I think we said 4,000 for the investigation and study, and then about 10 for the soil borings and report.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. I apologize.
That's the way. The fourth was for engineer architect's review and document review, which we've done a little bit of that already, but we've done it, and that's either can apply or we're not selecting and won't apply. But then the 10 was to cover the number of soil borings down the 20 feet or whichever.
So it was 4 plus 10?
Yes.
Are the 10 included?
Yeah.
No, 4 plus 10.
I missed that.
4 plus.
I thought it was all 10 together. I'm sorry.
No. And then from that, recommendations hopefully will be under that cap of the other firm, but it depends on the remedy and how much that's going to cost, and we can't determine that yet.
So basically, the fourth, I'm trying to get this straight. I'm sorry. The 4,000 would be like they said it was 5 to 7 phase 1. The second phase would be the 10,000 the boring. If you can't, if we ask for something.
The
else.
number of borings that may 10 is a cap for that because it may be 7,000. We don't know.
Right.
We're anticipating how many, and we were getting the cost.
Depending.
Yeah. What for doing soil borings, if they come out of San Antonio, travel enters into and the equipment they have, who can best do what we need to do and how far they have to travel. But the 10 covers that, and
right.
would be less and no more than that.
Right, exactly. I understand what you mean.
The 4 is for an architect reviews of the plans and all the documents that have been produced for your court, starting with the master plan, recommendations, seeing what the other architects and engineers have done. We've done some of that just because we want to get familiar with the patient first.
Right.
And that's continuing simultaneously with the other work. And then a report for the recommendation or the remedy, and apply for the emergency funding for the THC for accomplishing the remedies to stabilize the building. And part of that report may be, worst case would be hold off on what's being done on the west side. I don't know. I mean, that's the worst case.
And this is all with the first.
Because you don't want to put new finishes and new materials and so forth, and then have that be affected either by future settlement or upheaval, but you want to stabilize that west wall as well.
Of course.
So those finishes and investment that you're making isn't thrown away.
Right.
I guess I got a question for Pete. I mean, the scope of the work isn't really clear here. I mean, are we doing a phase 1 study, a phase 2, or 1 and 2? And why are we doing it? Because we don't know if what Lewis Fisher did is correct, or THC, and we haven't really looked at that. It looks like, in all fairness, we should have Lewis Fisher here to explain this, and THC to explain what we currently have and what we might need. And we're evaluating something that we don't even, you yourself said, well, you don't mention, well, I don't even know if we have these plans.
All right, Carl.
And where's the money coming from?
Carl, we're spending $300,000 of our money on that west end of the courthouse. It's going to put new windows and doors in it, and you're not going to do anything to the rest of the foundation. As I
But
told
Pete, you said you hadn't talked to Lewis. You don't even know.
I know they're not doing anything to the rest of the foundation.
Not in
floor.
phase 1, but are you talking about phase 1, or are we talking about phase 2? What are we talking about?
We're talking about phase 2 isn't going to happen for 2 years.
Oh.
It's not going to happen for 2 years now. All right? Do you understand that?
Okay.
We didn't get a grant last fall. You remember that?
Yeah. Seem to remember.
Okay, all right. So we're not gonna do anything to the rest of the foundation and put new windows and doors in that west end of the building and don't do anything to the foundation. If it shifts, MJ Boyd would say, that ain't my fault, the building shifted. I can't help it these windows fell out of here. I want to evaluate it, see if we should do something to the foundation now to save the rest of the building. We can't tear the building down, we have to save it.
So what you're doing here, you're trying to save the courthouse?
Yes.
I mean, it's almost, I see it like insurance, is that kind of what we're doing? If we get in there, I mean, if you get in there and you say everything's fine, just leave it alone, you're good to go, then we're fine. If you say, well, you know, you might need some kind of, something to stabilize the structure, then we need to go ahead and do that to make sure we're not wasting money. Am I
Yes.
correct or incorrect?
Right, and try to get emergency funding to help with that.
Did you gentlemen understand my point about doing something to the west end of the building? Was that clear? Or we put windows and doors in it?
Right.
And then
You've got under contract now the west
Right.
wall, and it's
And you
moving
don't do
along.
anything to the rest?
And it could damage either the conditions if you leave it. The rest of the courthouse could pull that, affect that wall, that new wall that's going in there. And the new materials and windows and doors, whatever, could affect that work. So it would be good to maybe hold off on some of the things, not, I don't know if Chip agrees with that, but until this investigation can be done and a recommendation and stabilize the rest of the building so that, and under that new wall too, because they're on top of the old foundation. That was put in 100 years ago.
So if we start the investigation now and we find that there is a problem, we stop the phase 1 construction, is that right, Pete?
I think that's a little premeditated.
Well,
That
that's just
could
what you
be.
said.
Well, but depending on what the problem is, I would think. I would think they need to
I'm
look
not-
first, they
I'm
come
not
back and tell
trying to,
us.
I'm not trying to stop phase 1. I want to get it done, whatever. But if we do something to the rest of the building to keep it from damaging phase 1, that should be done soon. And if they can get emergency funding for that, if they show that it needs something done to it, we'll get emergency funding. Maybe THC will give us an emergency grant to do something with the foundation.
Part of what, if I can expand a little bit, and when I started, I don't remember how long I've been here, but when I
Time
started
flies
working
when you're having fun.
on the courthouse, you know, I worked real hard to get up to speed, and I've been working on going through all of the mechanical things that I do to keep that project going and do my inspections, et cetera. But as I saw this cracking on the exterior, I started bringing up questions. This is concerning. You know, I'm an architect, I'm not a structural engineer, but when I see significant cracks on my structure, I raise a red flag. And I started talking to, you know, Louis Fisher and Sharon about it, and this is a concern. What guarantee do we have that this west facade that you're restoring is not gonna have damage in the 2 years we're waiting for this other grant money? And nobody will say, you're fine. So that concerned me too. So I started looking at, okay, what can we do? What can the county do? What can I do to help facilitate, and maybe what can the county do to make sure that you feel you have all the information you need to make the best decision? So I asked Sharon, I said, well, you know, you offered to let the county use part of their grant money for fixing these roof leaks, because the roof leaks are important to just take care of the building. What about the foundation? You know, what is the Historical Commission's position on the foundation? And she mentioned that, well, maybe they could participate with some grant money. Well, first she said, well, the county would need to look at maybe doing something with that foundation in the meantime. And I said, well, the county does not have unlimited money to spend on this courthouse. They have the $4 million, my understanding is they have the $4 million from the bond issue, and that's what they have to participate. They can't afford to go spend, we don't even know how much fixing a foundation if the Historical Commission's not gonna continue to participate. And she said, well, maybe they could help with some emergency grant funding. I said, that would be huge, I felt like. And so then we started talking about, okay, well, what needs to happen in order for that to happen? Well, we need to know, first of all, what's wrong with the foundation, and secondly, what potentially could it cost for you to shore up this foundation while you're waiting for phase 2? And then thirdly, are you spending money on finishes inside? Not the whole project, but are you spending money on replastering walls that if the foundation isn't fixed, they're gonna just crack up again? Are we spending money, and there's a potential change request that's on the table now that we've been working back and forth trying to get the cost reduced, but it's to the tune of, it was $8,000 last time I had talked to Mr. Fisher, and it has to do with the fact that your exterior door has to be, I want to say 2 inches, it might be 2 3/4, but a couple inches lower than what it is now to get it down to the correct height for it to be historically correct. There's a topping on your floor. So phase 2 includes removing that topping and getting the floor down to the original amount. Well, phase 1 had the door up at the higher level. Well, you can't put the door up high and then move it in phase 2 down 2 inches. You need to get it down. Well, when you get it down, guess what? Now you can't get in your building and reuse it, because right now you're scheduled to move back in. According to the Historical Commission, you are to move back into that building during this 2 years. So now guess what we have to do? We have to take out 2 inches of that floor or 3 inches of that floor, build you a ramp, and all of this is temporary. This $8,000 you're spending is so you can move back into this building when we don't even know you maybe should be doing foundation work instead of moving back into this building. So then there's exterior sidewalks and stoops and things that, you know, you're spending money putting all these sidewalks and stoops in, and again, should we use that, should Karnes County look at shifting that money towards your foundation instead of spending all these thousands of dollars on moving back into the courthouse? So there's some money, and I've been working close with the contractor on what his critical path is on. We know that the Historical Commission's meeting in July. There's a chance, at least both Sharon and Stan Graves, her boss was down here last time I was down here, I want to say it was last week, and we talked about this also. I said, is there a chance the Historical Commission will give them some emergency money? And he said they meet in July, and if we know how much it is, and if the county is willing to pursue it, then yes, we will look at, but there's limited funds, like Graham was saying, which is why it's so critical that we have our ducks in a row for July. So we have this deadline of July, we have this existing, you know, this new beautiful facade that's going to be going up, and we have what looks like a shaky foundation. So how do we pull all this together and make sure that Karnes is spending their money, you know, in the best place? Can we shift some of the money from the finishes into the foundation? Will the Historical Commission give you, I think emergency funding is only 50%, but I don't know if I just heard that or thought that.
I think that's correct. On the last one, but they change the rules every.
It's not always the same, but I think, I mean, potentially.
But it could be 50%.
Potentially you could get another 50%. You still have, you have about $90,000 in a project contingency because the low bid for the contract was lower than what they had budgeted. And plus you had a project contingency because in historical work, there's always something that you uncover that you don't know is there. And so you do still have some money in this grant phase, plus you have these finishes that maybe, and that may not amount to much, but say it's even $10,000 or $20,000. That could shift over to your foundation instead of putting plaster on walls and building these ramps coming inside this building that you don't need. And I think that was everything I kind of wanted to get out, that it's just, it makes sense to, you know, to get this rough budget. Does the foundation need work? What's the anticipated cost? Get some emergency funding from the Historical Commission, and then you can decide how you proceed from there. But the urgent need right now is we only have a month to investigate and come up with what needs to happen to this foundation, and then sell it to the Historical Commission, who has said they're open to helping. And then get the foundation secure while you're waiting for your next phase of money. So it's not stopping this project, it's just shifting money that, you know, maybe could be better spent on the foundation because it's things that's temporary, that's going to be ripped out anyway. Bathrooms, for example, if you don't move back into the building, you don't need that bathroom on the second floor, but you're building it. And is it just going to sit there? You know, there's a little bit of money that can shift. There's plaster that can shift. There's some interior paint and finish work that can shift. And then there's the exterior sidewalks and stoops and things that you would be putting in. And then there's like this added change that I'll be standing here next week talking to you about, or next court meeting, asking you to approve anywhere between $6,000 and $8,000 to put in this ramp for this you know, so that you can occupy this building, is that the best course? So did that help any on, or did I just totally confuse the whole?
You gotta have a good foundation. There's no sense wasting money on a building if it's gonna fall down after you get it put together. Spend money and throw money away out the door.
Well, Randy, as I understand it, there's still shop drawings that are going through for the west front. That
Most
need to
of
be
the
submitted.
submittals.
Have they all been submitted?
Most of them have, the only thing left is some of the ornamental metal work on the roof.
But the submittals and so forth, so mainly it's the finishes that can be postponed.
Would just be-
The plaster, maybe setting the windows that have been ordered, not putting them, but having them on.
Well, I don't know if you want to go that far. I mean, I don't know. I thought just maybe finishes.
Yeah.
You know, the plaster. What kind of started some of that too was, you know, we were looking at where they were. The drawings called for plaster on some walls, but then like if you were going to come back the drawings called for plaster in some unfinished rooms on the west facade. But then in the main lobby where your new front doors are going, and if you were going to occupy the building, we had plaster and different finishes in there that needed to be addressed. And so I said, well, maybe we can trade. Why put plaster in this unfinished room no one's going to go in? Let's at least get the entry looking where you can use it if you're going to move back in this building. And so that kind of started some of this talk, and then it's just kind of snowballed from there on, you know, what does Karnes County need to do so that you're spending every dollar in the best place, and that you know you have the accurate information you need to know what's going to need to happen. You know, is this an $8 million restoration? Having a second opinion affirming that, I would feel comfortable, more comfortable knowing, yeah, it's $8 million and we've got our 4, we're good. Okay, now what do we need to do with our foundation to make sure that the $1 million we've spent is safe, and that we don't have more damage to our building?
I'm all for fixing this foundation. The problem that I have, Pete, is you can't tell me if we have plans for the foundation or we don't.
Do we?
That's what I'm asking. Do we have plans for the foundation?
You've seen what they have.
I've seen plans prepared.
Did you look at any
Not very
plans?
clear.
I'm asking you a question, Pete. Now you're asking me a question. I mean, I think you're right. You're exactly right. I'm not arguing about that. We need to fix the foundation. I totally agree with that. It makes sense. You don't want what we've done to crack. This makes sense. The problem that I have is that, do we have plans for the foundation?
There is some foundation plans. I read on the drawing, it shows it's just, they're gonna go in there and expose the footings, they're gonna reinforce the footings underneath those foundations in there. We're going down 7 feet to put a concrete slab in there, to have a mechanical room underneath it. There's plans for that. It doesn't have, to me, it's not detailed plans on the outside edge of the building.
The exterior foundation.
The exterior. To me, it's not detailed plans on that as it probably should be. I don't know, have y'all seen?
The plans I've seen show, they show a new, tearing out the existing slab in the courthouse, and then putting in a new slab that doesn't touch the existing. They're not strengthening or altering the existing foundation. The big strip footing that goes around the building that holds up these load-bearing masonry walls. Nothing. They got, the new slab has new footings, but they just hold up the new structural first floor slab.
I think we've exceeded our 30-minute limit on this item. And I have a question just really quick from Betty back there. On here, since we have disapprove hiring of an architectural firm to evaluate the structural foundation of the courthouse, and obviously we can't do it with you in the room. Could we pick that today, or I know we have to have a special meeting next week. Do we need to pick it next week? Do you see what I'm saying?
What?
If we were going to pick a structural, if we were going to pick somebody today to evaluate this, the way the agenda item's worded, is it just giving us the approval to pick somebody and then picking between the two? I mean,
Language.
will you look and tell me?
Number 8.
Well, let me just throw it out there. Maybe we could have a night meeting. We could invite Louis Fisher and THC and these gentlemen as well. And Louis could say, this is what I have, this is what I have. And then we could come up with a master plan, but it's like a jury trial, and there's only one side getting to present evidence.
Well, you can
Other
discuss
side
it
is
today,
just.
you don't have to approve it. You don't have to make a selection today.
You don't have to on professional.
You can make a selection.
We can make the selection today if we want to, Betty. By the way, I mean, by the way that
You
it's
don't
on here,
have to
we
do
can make the
bids
selection
under,
to approve.
you don't have to under 50,000. For professional services.
Okay, everybody,
you
please
do
stop,
not.
stop, please stop. I cannot hear Mrs. Yarder when you're doing that out there. What are you
Yes.
telling us?
You can make your selection today. Otherwise,
So we can.
yeah.
So if that's something we want to discuss, we can discuss that.
Right.
And we can approve that today. Or if that's something that you guys want to take home and regurgitate and look at what you wrote down, or look at something that's on here, you let me know what you want to do, and that's how we'll do it.
I think we ought to table it until we have all the information.
Yeah.
What, James? I can't hear you.
She was thinking that we should ask them to come back.
No, we won't ask them to come out, but I mean, I understand that part.
Well, Carl, as far as your comment about allowing Mr. Fisher to be here and support his case, Chip has already told you what the plans show, that they don't show supporting the existing outside walls. What Fisher's plans, am I correct, Chip?
Correct.
Fisher's plans are to shore the floor of the courthouse inside the walls, but nothing on the walls.
I realize that, but in this country, both sides get to present their argument. I mean, not just one side.
We don't have jury trials in Commissioner's Court.
Well, I know, but I just.
This isn't, can I say something? This isn't a trial, this is a peer review.
Yes.
Right.
Everybody reviews us, and we review people all the time. And state law requires for engineers, I have to call their engineer and tell them I'm reviewing you. I hear a lot of big developers and a lot of municipalities, they get everything peer reviewed. Fort Bend School District gets everything peer reviewed. And for their own, so it's not, we're not gonna.
Well, excuse me if I'm a little nervous, but Mr. Gower put the contract with M.J. Boyle for this phase one
That's
construction on
no
the agenda
concern,
three
excuse me,
times.
that's no
and
concern.
hasn't been, so-
We're restoring the courthouse at a cost of $10 million, regardless of what's been on previous agendas, regardless of what's happened in the past. We're restoring our courthouse, and we have $10 million to spend, and that is gonna happen.
And we're just not on a headhunting mission or anything. We're
That's
just there to
fine.
give it a second opinion.
We're not here to attack anybody for what's happened, or, we're gonna move forward.
Right.
So I make a motion, let's move forward.
And so, the question would be, is do you guys want to allow them to leave the room? Do you want to pick somebody today? Do you want to, I mean, they don't need to come back for us to choose what we're
Right, of
gonna
course.
do. I mean, I don't need them to drive back from Houston. That doesn't have to happen.
But I'd like to speak with y'all after the meeting if y'all can wait around.
I think,
Sure.
I think out of respect for all y'all, we should do it while y'all are all here and not do it while y'all are gone. If we're gonna pick one of y'all, I think we should do it here unless y'all wanna take more time and think about it, but I think, because it would be pretty bad for y'all to leave and then we do it when y'all ain't here face to face.
Well, time's of essence, obviously. Time is of essence, obviously, if we need to get this study done so it can be submitted to THC in July for hopeful funding. But the question was raised a while ago, as far as if we had to go out for bids. These are professional services, and the court is not.
Quiet, conduct your business here.
Court is not required to go out for bids on professional services.
Right. Can't do it on the bill.
And the discussion about peer reviews earlier, that is a professional review by your peers. Accounting firms, CPA firms, auditing firms, all have to go through those also. That's just a standard
Right.
procedure.
Doctors, lawyers, it's a professional review deal. Everybody does it. It's not new.
Just think out of respect, y'all, all of y'all should be here while we make that decision.
Appreciate it.
He put it on the agenda, what do you think, or I'm not throwing the ball on you, but I just say, we can all say something, but.
Okay, we've asked a lot of questions, heard a lot of answers, got a lot of information from these gentlemen. I appreciate them coming down. They made a trip down last week and again this week. And I think we should choose one of them to do this for us. I think we need to do this. We need to find out what we have. We need an updated valuation. That's where I feel. I think it'd be beneficial to spend a few $1,000s on a $10 million project. I don't think it'd be wasting money. And I would be comfortable with either one of them. I have a better preference, one way or another. I won't state it first. I'll let James state it. He makes it now. I will state mine, but I'll let you state yours first.
Okay.
If you like.
Yeah, sure, I don't have a problem with that. All of y'all, I think, y'all are qualified and everything. I respect all of y'all. I have one question for y'all. Y'all said y'all's initial analyzation of the courthouse or the foundation would be 5 to 7, right? Now, after that, that doesn't include any kind of boring. Y'all do all that too, right? If y'all need to bore afterwards.
That'd be that second step.
That'll be on the second. On the boring issue, more or less, how much would that be?
That's, first before how deep we need to go is, runs in the few $1,000s.
A few, meaning like 3, 7, 8?
The lower end of that probably.
Just to like bore what, 3, 4, 5 holes, something like that? Yeah. Depending on how deep you gotta go or what you gotta, if you don't get enough information on one bore, or you gotta go 2 bores, 3 bores like that, is that what you mean?
Yeah, an instructional engineer makes that determination once he's analyzed it, how many bores and where they need to go. But I would suspect it's gonna be in the neighborhood of 3 to 4, but I'm not sure.
You don't know?
Yeah, until you evaluate it.
Okay. I just wanted to be fair because I was talking to them about it too.
I mean, price is really not a consideration all that much, is it, Pete, when we're spending it all?
I don't think it'll make that much difference.
How many courthouses, historical courthouses have y'all worked on?
At least 5, maybe some are not courthouses anymore. I've worked on about 200 historic buildings, National Register, Texas Landmark buildings.
Evaluations of the foundation?
Yes, all of those have been reviewed for foundation or new foundations or auxiliary foundation work on a significant number of buildings around the state in different soil conditions, different counties and so forth. Rio Grande Valley, East Texas, Central Texas.
And I know y'all said y'all done how many?
I've done 14. I'm working on 3 right now, all over the state, really. South and east, Ellis County, Hope County was burned down by fire. I'm doing Amarillo, Florida, Waco, Clinton County right now. So all over the place. And they all include master planning, structural and MEP evaluation, code, everything. So very comprehensive.
Foundations, all that.
Everything, yeah, all of them.
So process.
Y'all make it really, really, really hard.
And we've reconstructed several that needed roofs, like you were doing the turrets and the towers, reconstructed like Boston County and Hill County. So none of this is new to us.
As far as the timeline, how quick could y'all attack this project?
Well, we can start immediately, and the initial review, probably just a couple of weeks.
That's what I think, a couple
once
weeks.
we get all the documentation.
One other question. I'm not throwing it back on you, I'll make my decision. I'm a man, I'll make my decision. But I'm just saying, did you call about anyone? Did you check on any one of these companies? I know you're on a great, not y'all want to be in business, either one of y'all, but just sometimes it's good to check.
I talked to at least one of the companies, the cities or the counties that they work for. I called people in those areas and talked to them about it.
And both of them very
to me, they're both equally qualified. I really don't know but they've both got good recommendations from people I talked to. Recommendations. Whatever. All right, since it's back on me.
No, I'm not throwing it on you. Okay, guys, I respect both of y'all, both companies and everything. I really think this is just a real hard decision because, I mean, I really think that y'all will both be very qualified for it, very qualified. Does it have, Betty, does this have to be in a, there we go, sorry. I was seeing you over there. Does this have to be in a motion or can I just say which I prefer?
part of your discussion, you can make your recommendation.
Okay, it doesn't have to be an emotion, right? Okay, I was just asking. I guess if I would have to choose between y'all, and y'all, I think y'all are equally qualified, and at least I respected y'all enough for both of y'all to be here, right? Both y'all. Would probably be Figo.
PGAL.
PGAL, whatever.
Whatever you call it.
Okay. Steve?
That's right here, that's what we're talking about.
All right, on the initial visit, I thought that Mr. Martinez, structural engineer, asked the most questions when we're going through the courthouse, and he asked pertinent questions, whatever. Now today, on what we heard here today, Chip Hurley, he went walking through the courthouse and looking around ahead of Graham and I, and so he didn't ask as many questions, but today his answers were very good. Of course, both of them's experience is good. I think probably Graham Lund may have gotten a little bit more information, and they knew more about the building than the other firm did. They probably had better information about it. So today I would have been more impressed with Graham Lund's answers as to what they would do and what should be done with the courthouse. So today my recommendation would be for them. Either one is well qualified. So I guess we'll have to leave it to Barbara or Tracy or Carl to make a decision. I wouldn't disqualify either one. There's no disqualification.
I would work with either one.
No, I agree with that. They both done very good, but I would go with the Graham firm because Lorraine is hired by us to oversee the work at the courthouse already, and she's very familiar with these people, and that's my opinion. No offense to you guys.
I have to agree. I mean, why disagree? You guys, y'all dress nice, y'all look nice, y'all are nice guys, you got a nice brochure here. Lorraine likes you. Yeah, sure would.
Who?
PGAL.
PGAL. Judge?
Wait a second. Don't confuse me. Okay.
Graham Lund.
Graham Lund right there. That's
Okay, but he said PGAL. Yeah, I think you have the option.
No, I said PGAL.
What did you say?
Graham Lund.
Oh, God, I was just looking at the G and the L.
And then he said those guys.
So it's 2-2 right now.
It's 2-2. Right?
2-2.
2-2.
Do we have a motion? You want me to break the tie? Or
I'll make the motion to go with
Make the
PGAL.
Make a motion for PGAL.
I second it.
You second for PGAL. All in favor of PGAL, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Graham Lund's gonna do it then.
We have to make
We have to make a, yeah, I'll make a motion. I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion we hire Graham Lund as our architectural firm to evaluate the courthouse.
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye. Well, I mean, that's because we voted for the other
Well,
one,
right, but
right,
it
so-
still has to be on record.
Right, I understand.
Motion carries 3-2, Graham Lund. Now we can go on to the next item.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody with a winner.
Thank y'all, guys.
Okay. Moving on to number 10, is discuss, approve, disapprove. Let me let them get out, because we just can't.
Too much talking.
It was. There was a flip of a coin. Hey guys, can we please be quiet so we can just finish? We're almost done. Bear with us. Number 10 is to discuss, approve. Can you please stop? Number 10 is to discuss, approve, disapprove Bickerstaff, Heath, Delgado, and Costa to assist in the preparation and negotiation of a contract with an architect for a new county jail. And I put that on there. What this is we've already looked at somebody we've already chosen an architect to do the county jail. We chose Lorraine. We're working on an AIA contract with Lorraine as we speak. And we are doing the, come on back in, Lorraine. Sorry. We are already working with USDA, and you guys know all that stuff. And this is not anything that I've done behind Lorraine's back or anybody else's back. Bickerstaff, Heath, and Delgado, the name might sound a little familiar. They did our initial bond with the courthouse restoration and the road bonds. And just before we firm up a contract with anybody, I don't want any open-ended contract or any confusion between us and Lorraine, and I'm not even anticipating that. I'm not accusing anybody of anything or anything like that. But I think that before we go forward with another AIA contract, I don't want to leave anything open-ended. I don't want to get into a corner to where we don't have protective mechanisms in place for us, and she don't have protective mechanisms in place for herself. I want us to be on a fair playing field. I want us to know exactly what the other one is looking for. I would prefer to have the contract reviewed by legal counsel that was able to, that Lorraine herself would have the opportunity to talk to state what she thinks needs to be in the contract, but then we would also have the same counsel to be able to provide us those protective mechanisms of what might need to be. I don't want to get into another situation to where we're not taking ownership of our buildings, where we're not moving as fast as I think that we could be moving. I'm not here to fix anything that happened previously. I want to move forward. But before we move forward with this AIA contract, I would like to have legal staff review the contract and represent us. And the reason that it's this legal staff is if something needs to come up and we need funds and we need the bonds, these are the bond people that we use. And so it would be one specific follow through. And I'm not suggesting anything today, I'm just telling y'all possibilities of why this firm was chose.
Okay. You chose this firm and they're the ones that do the bonds?
They've done, yes, they've done ours.
And you want them to look at the contract?
Make sure everything's correct.
And I've talked to Lorraine about it, talked to Betty about it wherever she went, I've talked to Luana about it. I mean, sometimes we all need our protective mechanisms in place. And if we're all on the same playing field, we can't come back and say, well, you know what, that's what I agreed to, and this is what this says. We know exactly what it says. I don't want to get in that he said, she said argument.
And then we're going to have Ross, David Navarro, Richard Bernal look at what they...
If we go to bond, we would have the same person doing the whole, do you know what I'm saying? The whole thing. So I'm looking for one follow through and not having to pay somebody twice for the exact same. I don't want to pay somebody twice for the same work. You're going to ask me how much do you think this is going to cost? Look, you know what? There's an email in there. I was waiting for that question, Jimmy.
How did you know?
How did I know? Look on there. There's an email. I'm going to read it to you, and this is from Tom, and this is May 2nd. It says, Judge Shaw, I would attach your proposed engagement letter to address the architect contract. To the extent the county wants us to assist, I am sending execution copies to you. I recommend the following for your agenda item. Consideration and action approving Bickerstaff, Heath, Delgado, Acosta to assist in preparation and negotiation of a contract with an architect for a new county jail. Our experience has been that the negotiation and preparation of such contract should not be over $2,000. However, the fee will be dictated by how agreeable the architect is to the contract. So it's no disrespect to Lorraine, it's no disrespect to anybody else, it's putting us both in the same equal playing field.
That's fine.
That's fine, like a
I'll
motion?
make the motion. Bickerstaff, Heath, Delgado, Acosta to assist in preparation of the negotiation of the contract with the architect of the new county jail.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? No opposition, motion carries 5-0. All right, everybody. Up, payment of bills. You know what, I have those back here. Let me get those. Luana sent you a bill yesterday. I'm sorry, you have those bills. Because we started last night with this.
Page one, the second item you'll notice is a pay application number 16 on the courthouse restoration phase 1 to MJ Boyle in the amount of $77,667.08.
Is there anything on here, Luana, that is still, I mean, I didn't see anything that I would think was out of the ordinary yesterday that would just really shock me. But if there's something that I should have noticed.
Turn to page 5, you will notice that we have acquired 3 more of the new Tahoes for the Sheriff's Department and the cost of equipping them. That was approved by the budget amendment several months ago. Basically, all other expenditures are normal run-of-the-mill expenditures. The total payments to be issued this bill cycle are $307,351.52.
I make a motion we pay bills as presented. All in favor say aye. Any opposition? No opposition. Motion carries 5-0. The next item on the agenda is to adjourn.
I'll make it.
All in favor say aye. Any opposition? No opposition. Motion carries. Thank you all for coming. Travel safely. Yeah, you need to sign the bills. Y'all be careful.
Notice something. Never a split vote.